What are some of the ways you've connected with people and things that have brought you unity with others this year? What are the things that have disconnected you and divided you from others? Seems like since COVID 19 hit our country, we've just found it harder and harder to connect with one another and really seek unity, to seek peace and justice together, and to love our neighbor, let alone love our enemy, like Jesus told us to do. And the culture around us is not giving us the tools to do that. And as we look at the issues of race and the financial burden that's coming on our country, and now the elections that are coming up, there's all these issues that are dividing us, and it's just going to become harder and harder to really love one another well. Jesus in Matthew 5 tells us not just to love our neighbor, but to love our enemy, because this is the way God has loved us. And he says at the end of that passage, Matthew 5, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. I think all of us have a long way to go in being perfected in love, loving people perfectly. Because the truth of the matter is, we easily find things that divide us and disconnect us from other people. We compare ourselves to other people. I'm pretty good at some things. There's a lot of things I'm not very good at. And I tend to compare myself to others who are either good or not very good at those things. We all have those abilities that make us unique. Then there's other things like where we come from, our skin color, our cultural heritage, our education, the things that we've achieved in this life. All these things are good things and they make each one of us unique. But they could easily divide us from other people too. There's a passage in Genesis chapter 1 of the Bible that really deals with this. In Genesis 1, it's the story of God creating this whole universe. And at the pinnacle of God's creation, he creates humankind. You could say we are God's masterpiece. God created the universe filled with life. God is overflowing with life, and he's overflowing with love. And so he creates humankind to commune with him. He invites us into the community of God and to partner with him in creating and sustaining life in this universe in which he's put us on this earth. He wants us to spread human flourishing as well as care for all the other creatures around us. We partner with God in that, and in order to do that, he's given us those capacities and abilities that each one of us has. In theological terms, we call this being created in the image of God. And that comes from Genesis chapter 1, where it says that God has created us in his image. All of those capacities and abilities are often linked in one sense or another to being created in God's image. In other words, people say that to be created in God's image means that we have cognitive abilities, or the ability to communicate, or to love and relate to other people. But the fact of the matter is, if you took away all these abilities from someone, just by the very nature of being created as a human being, they would still be created in God's image. Being created in God's image is not about our abilities. It's the essence of who we are. Just by our very being, we reflect God in this world. Therefore, every human life, from conception to natural death, has value and is sacred, and is worthy, therefore, of respect and dignity and honor. And so while all the world around us is dividing over race, over the haves and the have-nots, over the uneducated versus the educated, over those of this political party or that political party, let's be the people that unite over this one thing, that every human being we interact with is worthy of our respect and dignity and honor and love. Not only that, when you continue to read in Genesis chapter 1, we see in verse 27, God created us male and female in his image. The one thing that divides you and me from at least half the other people on our planet, the thing that makes me most different than most other people, is my gender or my sex. My wife and I are so different, and I've got 3 daughters, and I can tell you from experience, women are completely different than men in so many ways. And in fact, men have used this fact to dominate women in almost every culture and every civilization throughout human history. We have broken the very fabric of the way in which we were created in our sin. Because each of us is born into the sinful human race, we have mistreated others, and in particular, men have mistreated women in so many ways. But the Bible has an answer for that, right in Genesis chapter 1. It makes it very clear that women, as much as men, are created in God's image and therefore worthy of that value, that respect, that dignity. Their lives are just as sacred. They are of equal worth before God, and therefore of equal protection, should be treated equally. The unity that we are seeking is not going to be found in the tools that the world around us is offering us. The world is showing us all the ways that we are divided from one another. They're highlighting all the differences that we have. And if we divide ourselves over political party, or over race, or over cultural background, or over gender or sex, we're going to be part of that game, and we're not going to be part of the solution. You know, each of us is broken because of our own sin. We've bought into the system. We've bought into all these ways that we divide from one another and mistreat one another. And Jesus came as one of us. He was God in the flesh. He took on human flesh. But unlike all of us, the image of God in him was not corrupted by sin. He lived a sinless, perfect life. And in fact, he took the form of a servant to serve every one of us. Even though he was the smartest, the most gifted, the most capable, he healed people with the word from his mouth. Which one of us is capable of doing that? So Jesus reflected the image of God in ways that you or I never will, but he was willing to lay down his life for us and to serve us in that way. So none of us is going to be able to love other people perfectly as we should. So we look to Jesus. We invite Jesus to do a work in our own lives to transform our hearts, which seek to divide from other people who are different from us, and invite him to give us the kind of love that he has. He can do it. He's willing to do it. Let's fix our eyes on him. Look forward next time to more lessons from Genesis, but I hope that we all learn together how to love one another better as we fix our eyes on Jesus, center ourselves in God and the story that God tells us in the Bible that we're going to look at together from Genesis to Revelation. So we look forward to learning together next time. In the meantime, God bless you.